Station, this is Houston. Are you ready for the event?
Houston Station, we are ready for the event.
Destination Station at the Children's Museum in Indianapolis. This is Mission Control Houston. Please call station for a voice check. Please call station.
ISS, this is Destination Station at the Children's Museum of Indianapolis. This is Dave Wolf. How are you doing up there?
Children's Museum in Indianapolis, we have you loud and clear. We are doing great. Nice to see you.
Hi, Rick and Koichi and Steve. It's great to see you two up there. In fact, I watched your spacewalk last week. You did a great job. Plan A looked like it worked pretty good. We're going to get right to some of these questions. We have a really large crowd here at the Children's Museum of Indianapolis, and our first student, Georgia, has a question for you.
What is your favorite part of being an astronaut on the ISS?
Good question. It's wonderful to be able to work in space and watch the beautiful home planet. And my favorite part of being an astronaut is that we can work with so many dedicated people from all over the world in the human space exploration.
Rick, this next question's for you, and we have Oliver from Indianapolis Public Schools 60 to ask the next question. Here you go, Oliver.
How do you tell the time, and is there a certain time zone you follow?
Hey, Oliver. Yeah, great question. Yeah, because up here, we're going around the Earth so fast that we have a sunrise and a sunset every hour and a half. So we can't use the sun to determine what time it is, obviously. So we use Greenwich Mean Time, or basically the time that it is in London, England. And that's kind of a compromise because we have people from all over the world working with the International Space Station. So we all decided to use London time, or GMT, as the standard up here. And, of course, we use our watch. And then at night, when it's time to go to bed, we turn all the lights off, and it's like nighttime up here. In the daytime, we have all the lights on in station, and it's like daytime.
Thanks a lot, Rick. Swanee, this next one's for you. And we have Brenda Ramon.
No. How do astronauts get water they need in space?
How do we get water we need in space? Well, we luckily have a system here that recycles our water. And then for us to get it out, it's pretty easy, simple. We just go ahead and have a little machine. We can go ahead and take water out from there and put it in a bag, which we can drink from.
Thanks a lot, Swanee. Koichi, the next one's for you, and it is from Abe Boucher at St. Michael's School.
What experiments are you working on aboard the ISS?
Hey, that's an interesting question. We are working on a variety of experiments every day, and in the physics and medicine and all kinds of science. And this week in particular, I am focusing and working on an experiment called the cell mechanosensing, which is an investigation to identify gravity sensor in muscle cells. And this study will help develop a new medicine or countermeasures to muscle atrophy.
Thanks, Koichi. And now, Rick, the next one from Aaron Howard, Chapel Hill Christian School. Here, Aaron.
How and why did you choose to go into space?
Well, when I was very young, probably about your age, I got very interested in science, very interested in airplanes and space travel. It was back in the days of Apollo. And so it really piqued my interest, and I was very good at math, and so I decided to make science and engineering my career. And then eventually I saw that there was an opportunity to become an astronaut, and I thought it would be great to become an astronaut. It was physically and mentally very challenging, and that all led up to my space trip. So it was just a series of events leading me down a road of things that interest me, if you will.
Thanks a lot, Rick. Swanee, the next one is from Isabel Hargrove, Sycamore School in Indianapolis.
Do you have any free time while on the ISS? And if so, what do you do?
Well, Isabel, we do get a little bit of free time up here, and one of my favorite things to do is look out the window. We have a wonderful place called the cupola, which is like a glass-bottom boat and has 7 windows that look out on the Earth, and it's a beautiful place just to sit and look down on a wonderful planet.
Thanks, Swanee. Koichi, our next question's from Jonna Bolton. Jonah, you say? Thank you very much. Here you go, Jonah.
How many personal items do you bring to space, and what types of items do you bring?
Jonah, I brought some personal items like photographs of my family and friends. And also I brought some banners or flags of my school and universities that I attended back in Japan. And then also some small charms as flight memento. And photographs are really nice, and because I can see the pictures of my family and friends during this 6-month stay on board the space station.
Thanks, Koichi. And now, Rick from Austin Holt, Indianapolis Public School 15. Here you go, Austin.
How big is the living area on the ISS, and do you get your own room?
Yeah, Austin, the space station is actually very, very large, in my opinion anyways. Maybe you've been on a large commercial airliner on a trip at one time or another. It's probably the size of 2 or 3 of those commercial airliners, the volume inside it. And the thing about the space station is, since we could float, we could use the area up here on the ceiling if we have to. So it's much more area and volume than if it was just we're in a 1G or on an environment like on the Earth. And we do get our own room. It's a very, very small room. It's the size of a very small closet in your room, like the linen closet, or if you probably don't remember phone booths, but like the size of a small phone booth. So it's a very small area, but it's more than enough to hang up our sleeping bag and sleep.
Rick, I really miss using the roof. Last time I came home from space, I used to sleep on the roof, and I was pretty surprised to wake up on the not sleeping on the roof. Next question, Steve from Michael Joven at St. Michael's School.
Do you have plants on the ISS? And if so, how do you grow them?
I don't have plants personally, but we have experiments that have plants, and we try to grow the plants to the experiments. There's also, I know a few of our Russian colleagues have tried to grow plants themselves by keeping them in a Ziploc bag and putting some water with it, kind of like a hydroponic plant. I know we've actually tasted some of the onions they grew that way. It's very delicious.
Thanks, Steve. And for Koichi, our next question from Angela, and I can't pronounce that. Is it Kahindi? Kendi. Very nice. Here you go.
What types of food do you eat?
Yes, we have all kinds of very tasty space food, meat, fish. That's my favorite. Vegetables, dessert. And those are from the partner countries of the International Space Station, United States, Russia, Europe, Canada, and Japan. And recently we had the SpaceX Dragon spacecraft, which brought us fresh food, fruits and vegetables, which is very rare for us to have. And I really wish that we had some sushi as a standard food item.
Thanks, Koichi. I enjoyed some of the special Japanese food you brought up last time we were in space together also. For Rick, the next question, Rachel Chambers from Butler University.
What has been the greatest experience you have had thus far in space, and how has that experience affected you as a person?
Yeah, you know, I've had a lot of great experiences up here, but probably the thing that I enjoy the most are the spacewalks. I've got to do a few spacewalks, and when you're out there in your spacesuit and you're translating around the outside of the space station, you have these great views of the Earth. Just your visor between you and the vacuum of space, you got these wide panoramic views of the Earth as the sun rises. They're just incredible. And working out there on the space station, it's very, very difficult work, but it's also very, very rewarding. I don't know if that's going to change me as a person, but it's certainly something that I'm going to remember for the rest of my life, being out there and helping to build the space station and the beautiful views of the Earth.
I think that was your, ninth spacewalk, Rick, and I watched every bit of it. Great job. One thing I used to say to my crews as I went out on a spacewalk is the only thing we know won't happen is Plan A. And it looked like you made Plan A happen this time. Next question for Steve is for Steve from Anthony Hentz from Michael School. Anthony?
What is your least favorite thing to do in space, and why?
My least favorite thing to do in space, Anthony. Good question. I like most things up here, but there is probably one thing I don't like doing, and I'm going to have Mr. Wolf there, Dr. Wolf, have to explain the details of this one, but I'm just going to say it's going to get messy, and it has to do with going to the bathroom. But Dave Wolf can explain the rest of it for you.
We have quite a crowd here that's pretty interested. By the way, we're on question 13 now out of 20, just to keep you updated on the schedule. For Koichi, please. Cooper has a question from Sycamore School.
What do you do with human waste?
I'll help you with that one afterwards, too, if you'd like.
Cooper, that's a good question. We keep the human waste in a container like this size, and then we load these containers to a cargo vehicle when it arrives here. And when the cargo vehicle arrives, it departs from the space station, it departs with the containers, and it will burn up during the re-entry to the atmosphere.
Thanks, Koichi. Rick, Miles Cumbay from Indianapolis School 60 with your next question.
Do you get to talk with your family while you're on board?
Oh yeah, that's we do. We get we have very good connectivity with our family up here. We actually have a telephone where we can call just about anywhere in the world when we have the proper communication satellites in place. We also have email, of course, and then once a week we get to do a video conference with our families. So I talk to my family almost every day. I have a video conference once a week, and of course we email and exchange pictures and things like that. So it's not too bad. I feel very close to my family, and we've been communicating with them quite a bit since I've been up here the past 6 months.
Thanks, Rick. Next question's for Steve. By the way, his name is Steve Swanson, and we call him Swanee in the astronaut office, and that's why I'm calling him Swanee during this. So, Swanee, your next question is from Ramiro, please.
How does lack of gravity affect the body?
Well, that's a good question. Lack of gravity does affect our bodies. It makes us weaker, and it makes our bones weaker. So we have to work out 2 hours every day to keep our muscles strong and our bones very strong too, or else when we get back to Earth, it's going to be a very difficult time for us. So that's important for us to stay in shape up here.
You guys are looking pretty good, so you're doing a good job of it. Next question, Koichi, please, from Adler Kissling, Chapel Hill Christian School.
What does the Earth look like from space?
Oh, that's a very good question. To us, Earth looks like a blue, very beautiful oasis in the completely large, pitch black space. And I feel really lucky to be able to have such a wonderful planet as our home.
Thanks, Koichi. Rick, next question's from Chris Hayes, St. Michael School.
How do you communicate with astronauts from different countries?
Well, hey, Chris. Actually, the official language of the International Space Station is English, and obviously the international partners all speak English very well. But we also speak Russian. Because we launch on Russian vehicles, so the three of us also had to study the Russian language. So we do speak Russian a little bit also. So basically, we use English as the primary forms of communication, but we also use Russian on occasion also.
Отличный вопрос и ответ. Next вопрос for Steve from Aliyah or Eliya. Help us pronounce your name.
Aaliyah.
Hello, Aliyah. Here you go.
What inspired you to become an astronaut?
Leah, that's a good question. Most people have other significant events in their life, but I think actually for me it might have been just a little different. I got inspired mostly to become an astronaut by watching and reading books about science fiction and space. I just love those books and movies and TV shows, and I got hooked on it at that point when I was a young kid, and I've never left that idea. I love it.
Thanks, Swanee. And for Koichi, next question is from Larry Smith. Excuse me, James Iconogle.
What basic requirements do astronauts have to meet to be selected to go to the space station?
James, good question. We need to be cleared on the medical requirements to fly in space. And other requirements include the language skills, as Rick explained, both in English and in Russian language. And also, we need to be proficient in the spacewalk skills as well as robotic skills. After we are assigned to a space flight, we go through training in different countries for 2.5 years.
Thank you, Koichi. And our last question, number 20, is from Avery. Excuse me for pronouncing it not quite correctly. Here you go.
How long does it take to change into your spacesuit?
Hey, Avery, yeah, that's an interesting question. It doesn't take a long time to put the spacesuit on. Maybe it takes an hour or so to put the spacesuit on, but it takes about 4 or 5 hours to fully prepare your body to go from inside the space station to outside the space station. And that's because we have to do a lot of breathing of pure oxygen and prepare our body, kind of remove some of the nitrogen from our body so we don't get the bends when we go to that very low pressure in the spacesuit and out in the vacuum of space. So getting in the spacesuit doesn't take very long, maybe less than an hour, but the preparing of your body to go outside and on a spacewalk takes about 4 hours.
Thanks a lot, Rick. In fact, that's something we're going to talk about after our downlink is completed. I'm going to spend some time with this rather large group going over some of these more detailed than we have time right now. That was our last question. I want to say hi, though, to Mikhail, Oleg, and Alexander also, as well as it's been great seeing you guys. I think I saw you last at the grocery store a little while ago, Swanee. Koichi, we flew in space together on my last flight. Rick, see you in the office all the time. So it's just great getting to talk to you and spend time. And I can't tell you how excited this really large group, I know you can't see them, but they are really thrilled to be talking to the International Space Station, traveling at 5 miles per second overhead around the Earth, and 16 times a day. And we'll talk about that a little bit more later with the group. Is there anything else you folks would like to talk about in the last remaining moments or minutes that we might have?
Yeah, Dave, it's been really great to talk with you. And last time when I was here, you were here. And we miss you very much here. And it was great to hear your voice this time. And thank you very much, everyone, for the wonderful questions. It was really exciting to talk with all of you. And good luck with your study, and set the goal high and aim for it. And then if you do not give up, your dreams will come true. Thank you very much for sharing this moment with you.
Thank you. Great.
And Swanee's going to do a flip.
You can probably hear all the clapping. And that's a nice flip, Swanee. Double flip. You might even get 3 out of that. Enjoy the rest of your time. Be safe. Be productive. Look forward to seeing you on Earth.
Thank you, Dave.
Station, this is Houston ACR. Thank you. That concludes our event.
Thank you, Children's Museum of Indianapolis Station. We are now resuming operational audio communications.